What happens when you sit down with the man who recorded hundreds of your favorite movies, albums, and was the lead guitar player for Supertramp for decades? Let me tell you something. You don't see just a gear tour. You get a true masterclass in tone. Today on Show Me Your Rig, I am beyond honored to be with the legend himself, Mr. Carl Verheyen. We're gonna dive deep into his balanced tension tremolo system, his unique pedal choices, and how he translates his studio sound to the stage. This interview is 100% in English, so to all my Brazilian friends, turn on the captions right now. Or like we say down there, liga a legenda aí, meu irmão. I do have an editor back home. She takes care of all the editing. His name is Marcel. And it's his birthday today.
Oh, let's tell him happy birthday.
So, happy birthday, Marcel.
Yo,
look at that.
so.
Special episode on your birthday. Doesn't get better than that, brother.
You got to start editing right away.
Exactly. As soon as you get home from the bar, straight to the computer.
Yeah, exactly.
But before we start, let me tell you a quick little something. When listening to Carl's tone, you quickly realize that half of the magic is how the cabinet reacts to his touch. And that's why in trying to recreate that magical feeling that I ended up creating my Impulse Response Pack 2.0. I really wanted to capture that high-end studio feel, that 3D sound, and make it available to you so you can load it into your modular or your plugin. It's got 30 combinations of classic speakers and cabinets that range from vintage to modern, and those are sounds that I personally use to get my tracks sounding like a professional record. Over 1,000 guitar players worldwide are already using my Impulse Response Pack 2.0 to completely transform their tones. So if you're sick of fighting your digital modeling gear and you really want to start sounding like the legends, the link to learn more about my Impulse Response Pack 2.0 is right here in the video description or somewhere on the screen in the form of a QR code. It's a great opportunity for you to get the best out of your digital modeler or your plugin whilst helping me maintain this channel, always bringing you quality content like today's video. So check it out, link in the description or QR code somewhere. Enough with the shameless plug, now let's go back to Carl and his amazing gear along with the stories that come with it. So what is up, guitar heroes? This is Andy speaking from the Valley, and I'm usually very big on introductions, but if I have to introduce you to this guy, I don't know what kind of rock you've been living under, honestly, because we're talking Supertramp, we're talking Stuart Copeland, we're talking Carl Verheyen Band, we're talking session work, we're talking movie work, scoring, The Crow, one of your, most iconic guitar lines are featured there. Instructional videos, Musicians Institute. You probably make great coffee too. So
I wash my car.
Hey, look at that.
I wash my own car.
Jack of all trades, master of all of them. Today I'm very humbled and very honored to feature on the channel Mr. Carl Verheyen.
Thank you.
Look at that. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Here we are.
To have us here. It's a great honor to be able to showcase more of your tone approaches and your ideas to the Brazilian audience. Of course, we're doing the video in English, so people all over the globe can get to enjoy this, but Vai Brasil! All right. So before we move on to the actual gear, because as you can see, we have a lot of cool stuff to show, and that's just one of the rooms in your house where you have your gear. You are known for very specific types of tones. You have like a 1, 2, 3 that you usually follow. At least, I've known you for those. Yeah. The clean stereo, and then the crunch, and then the leads.
Right. Yeah.
Is that the kind of philosophy that you follow whenever you do all types of work you do as an artist, as a session musician, playing in bands, or does it vary a lot? And I'm going to leave you open to develop on that.
Well, I would say that for my own music, those are the 3 sounds I really need. I need a good, clean sound, preferably in stereo, especially if I play in a trio. I like ping pong delay. I like a little chorus at times, not all the time, but bring it in when you want it. then when I play, power chords and stuff, like with Supertramp, I had a 3-way pedal board. In other words, it had the clean sounds, which even had Leslie tones on them. And then it had a crunch channel that went to a 4x12 facing backwards on this giant stage. Then it had a lead sound that was in wet, dry stereo kind of lead sound. With my own band, I can get by with just using the clean channel and pedals to make it crunchy.
Okay.
Or the dirty channel and no pedals to be crunchy. So I can get those 3 sounds with just an A-B rig. Having said that, and we'll talk about like the philosophy of those tones in a minute, really, I mean, you kind of look at, there's 2 different ways, there's 2 different careers. One career is as a studio musician for so many years, I just needed to get every popular important sound, right? I needed to get the sounds of the latest Madonna record or the sounds of the latest Blink-182 record, right?
Okay.
So as a studio musician, as you can see by my garage, and only 2/3 of it are out there because of the Cartage guys are taking it to a show I have on Sunday in LA. But, so you can see that for so long, I had to have gear for every kind of session that came along, right? And that include slide guitars and baritone guitars and baritone acoustic and electric and 12-string and dobro and 2 banjos and mandolins, everything like you need to make a living. Right? But then when it's now my music, I've got a specific tonal concept that I want.
So you sift that out, just remove all the excess and just focus on trying to express pretty much.
And like on the next record we do, there's a song called Dark Angels, which is kind of, this record's being done right now. This song is about the LA fires, which is a horrible period in our lives a year ago. And I couldn't get an ugly enough sound with a 6-string. So I pulled out a Music Man baritone and hooked up a fuzz face to it, right?
Okay.
And that was sounding good, but not quite ugly enough. But years ago in the 80s, Alan Holsworth gave me a baritone. Just, here you go. You want this? And I go, sure. And I call it the manatee because it's just this big, gnarly. Anyway, I used the manatee Alan Holsworth guitar with the fuzz face. It just made the ugliest sound, which is what I needed for that song. So throw all my tonal concepts out the window and get just gnarly.
Okay.
And, to fit the song because everything else was too pretty, too nice, too melodic.
You're kind of known for that beautiful, polished studio, LA 80s studio tone. Whenever, at least for me, whenever I think of you, I'm always hearing stereo choruses, ping pong delay, stereo reverbs and all that.
Yeah.
So
it started when I just had a trio because I just needed to fill it out. And when you're playing out of 1 amp, it's just not a big enough deal.
Yeah.
And then I sort of started to think that, okay, the sound of this band needs to have an identity and the integrity to where you immediately know what it is, right?
Yeah.
Integrity is not the word, but the signature. So, and I never wanted to cheap out and say, I can just do this with these 2 amps, which I can't. I can do it with 2 amps and a little mini pedal board, which I'll show you later. That's just the size of, 10 inches by 10 inches.
Okay. So
and that works.
Mini.
Yeah. And that works great, that little board. So, it makes it stereo and, it's got 3 different distortion sounds. And, you're done.
So trying to downsize and get by with as little gear as possible.
As once in a while, a fly date or something. So,
but it's not as fun.
Not as fun. Yeah. There's nothing like the inspiration that comes with, great tone.
Yeah.
Especially live. And even in the home studio or the studio, I make sure that, I'm inspired before I even start,
Yeah.
So.
And it's one thing to be said. I think you were the first guy that I saw, because now, especially with digital pedals and all, the whole trails and carryover functions with reverbs and delays, when you turn them off and the repetitions and the reverb, they carry on. It's kind of a new thing the past 10 years. You were the first guy that I saw doing it in an analog way in which your guitar would split into 2 or 3 different paths and each different path would have its own reverb and delay. So whenever you
but it's very simple because like in the 80s, I'm the second guy ever to get a Bob Bradshaw rack.
Oh, nice.
The first was Buzzy Featon, and he saw me play at this club with a sax player named Richard Elliott. And Buzzy goes, "Yeah, I see what you're doing there. You know, there's a guy that's making digital effects loops, you know, programmable effects loops in a board. So you could have these effects and these effects, rack gear, pedals, anything you want." So I went to the guy, and he was literally around the corner from this club that I played at called At My Place. It was in Santa Monica. And I went to Bob, and he was so new at it that every time I got a new effect, he'd have to drill with his overhead drill press another hole in my pedal board, you know, and add a switch and a button and an effects loop. So that went on for a long time. And I remember all through the 80s having the big refrigerator racks, an amp rack and an effects rack that were both, you know, 18 spaces or something. And I even took them on the road in the 80s. I took them to Europe and everything. It was pretty crazy. And then one day my band was playing a concert at a place called Billboard Live, which maybe changed to the Key Club. I don't remember, but we were about to do a record release concert, full house, and it's just a trio, right? I had the whole show programmed into the 99 presets.
Wow.
Song 1 starts on 1, 2, and then you go to the second bank for the second song. It was all set. About a half an hour before showtime, one of the stagehands tripped over the power cable, which unplugged it. And then he plugged it back in right away, and it geeked all the programs. Everything was gone.
And there was no backup,
nothing. So in my, there it is. In my trunk of my car, I had this rat pedal.
This very one.
Yeah, this very rat pedal, you know, one of those old rats. And it was, it had been modified by a guy, and it was a good sounding pedal. And I just said, "Do you guys have any backline amps?" And they had a Fender Twin. I might have had a delay pedal too. Did the whole show with that, you know, and at the end I had these guys come up to me and said, "Man, your sound was amazing. It was the best I've ever heard you." So I go, "Well, you know, my 61 Strat sounds better than these. I mean, through one of these two Fender Princetons, then, you know, $60,000 worth of rack gear." And then I realized, kind of a toilet that runs in the ego bathroom. I realized that, you know, when you're listening to all that effects stuff, and you had to have it in those days because Andy Summers was all the rage, and you had bands like The Fix and everybody that was, had those tones, you know, those sounds. But when you turn it all off, all the wiggle tones and the reverbs and everything, it really didn't sound very good. You know, it's going through all this circuitry, and it wasn't very real. Whereas plugging straight into like a vintage Princeton or something was like, wow, that's the real thing. That's tone.
Yeah.
So at that point, I got rid of it kind of, or just retired it. I still have an effects rack that I use for movie soundtracks because it kind of gets every sound you ever need.
Yeah.
But I'm using it very rarely, you know, and not pulling it out too much. But I just switched over to a handful of pedals. And when you talk about the delays that keep going and stuff, let's see if I have one here. It's all done with a Lely
amp switcher.
I mean, it's an AB box. So what I believe in is that I want a clean sound that's A, and then instead, so Lely has a deal where you mod yours, right? Yeah, and then he makes that mod for everybody.
Nice.
So he makes it so you never have to look down. You can just have it so you step on this button. This one button, and it's your clean sound. You step on it again, and it's your dirty sound. So in the course of a rhythm part, I can just throw in a lick and then back, and they overlap, you know.
Especially because you're singing with your band as well.
Right, yeah, I don't want to look down.
Yeah.
Don't want to look down. The minute I get off mic, it's off mic, you know, and you don't hear it. And I'm terrible at that because I look at the guitar neck a lot, so. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, so that's the whole philosophy for your tone. Why don't we jump into some instruments and start to see what you have in stock for us?
Okay.
So now the talking is over and the visual part begins.
Okay. So, I mean, for that reason, I got to get into that closet, pull various things out and just talk about, and you definitely don't want all 70 guitars, but I can just pull out some highlights.
I mean, hey, really, what a drag. 70 guitars. Who wants to see that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but,
Okay. So this is my LSL CV Special, it's called. And the first one was a rosewood neck. And I played that one for about, 8 years. And then I got him to make me a maple neck. And I find with Stratocasters, of which I have like 14 or 13 Strats. I'm a big Strat guy. I find with Strats that maple necks are a little more focused, for distortion. The bottom end doesn't get mushy. C sharp is my note, right? If C sharp doesn't mush out, then basically everything lower won't mush out. So this guitar was patterned after one I'll show you next. It's
one of your vintage ones?
Yeah, it's a 61 seafoam green. And it is actually a maple neck. That's why the original CV Special was maple. But I make sure that they are 7.35 pounds or less. I do my wang bar,
the minor third
whole step thing. And then I wired this tone control, the middle tone control, to these two pickups. Mm-hmm. Some people leave the middle one straight out, and the back pickup is this is the one pickup you really need a tone control on, like that, and a 5-way. And let's see, what else do I do?
Are we talking alder or ash on this guitar?
This one is, they're all alder. And I keep the back off so I can keep my claw angle correct, to make that all happen. So this is the one I've been using most lately. And I just did a tour in Europe for 4 weeks, but an Italian guy ordered one.
Nice.
So I said, send it to me. They'll, so LSL built it here in LA, sent it to me. I played it for a week. Then I just played it on the entire tour. And at the end of the tour, I just...
Here's your guitar.
He was there at the last gig.
Nice.
So he didn't pay duty or shipping or anything. So
that's cool.
So
plus, the idea of having a relic guitar is that if you put a few scratches, nobody's going to know.
Yeah. This has already kind of gotten a little checkered stuff on it. But it's... I used to have a Porsche 911, and that's the color.
Oh, nice.
Midnight blue or something.
Nice.
So Fender flew me out to Flagstaff and said, we'd like to make a signature Carl Verheyen model. But then they informed me that it needs to be $6,000 and they're only going to make 40 of them, and it's going to be an exact replica of this. Because they'd seen me playing this a lot. And it's a really great guitar. I think it's ash, though. Mm-hmm. But I've used it for years, lots of records and stuff. It's seafoam green, which is kind of crazy. It's a custom color, and it's 1961. It's got the perfect neck, Compared to the LSLs, it's a little heavy because I have a 1958 that's lighter, and I just kind of gravitate to light guitars.
Is it that sunburst that was featured on a lot of videos, especially when you talk about the quintessential Strat tones?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. What a tone this guy has. It's more of a C neck, but just a beautiful guitar. And, it's my favorite guitar for clean. Mm-hmm. And I just recorded a song at Sunset Sound using this and the Dumble Head clean.
Okay.
Through 2 10s. And it's one of the best sounds I've ever gotten. Just this glorious clean tone, So yeah, this guitar's, I bought it in 1989, so that's been a while. And, I paid, well under $3,000 for it. And then
which was a lot back
I think I bought it at Norm's, right?
Most likely.
And then Norm said, hey, I got something in the back you might want to get. And he showed me, and it was one of these, and he was asking $30,000. I said, Norm, you sold me one of these for like 2,800 years ago. And he goes, see, it's a blue chip investment. You should buy this one too.
Talk about a sales guy.
Yeah, exactly. So, you want to see the 58?
If you're going to twist my arm.
All right, let's look at that one.
I ain't going to complain about seeing the 58, at least the one that I was talking about.
Yeah, so my collection, the reason I got this 58 is because I was playing in Pittsburgh. And Seymour Duncan was there.
Okay.
And he's a buddy of mine, and he came to my gig or whatever and said, "Hey man, you're a Strat guy. There's one of the best Stratocasters I've ever heard in Hollywood for sale at a place called Voltage Guitars." And I go, "I know those guys." And he goes, "Yeah, go check it out." So I go, "What's so good about it?" And he goes, "The 3 pickups in a row are the best sounding for like one pickup working with the next pickup working with the next. The best 3 in a row, if you know what I mean."
Yeah.
Like they just work together.
And if Seymour said it, who am I to disagree, right?
No. So I went in there and my eyes just wow, bing, that's got to be it. And I pulled it off and I checked it. It had a 3-way at the time, but I was finding a way to notch between them like Hendrix used to do. And anyway, I found that I plugged it in and I go, God, he's right. You know, this thing's amazing. So at that point, I said, "How much do you want for it?" And the guy said,
And when was that?
God, it was probably 1992 or something like that. And he said, $7,000. I go, God, so much money. So I went home, got in bed, you know,
Let me sleep on it.
put the covers and then I, you know, just there. And then I went, ting, I have to have it. So I went back and got it, but you can feel how light it is. It's a nice.
Oh, it is light.
Isn't that special?
It is.
Yeah. So
I've come to realize that I like light guitars because of your videos.
oh yeah.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah.
You mentioned something about you always feel the bottom jack when you pluck the B string and see the guitar vibrating.
Yeah. You do that. You can suspend it, or even while it's on the wall in a store, just hit the B string and feel if that's moving it. If you got some wiggle, like this one, it's got a lot of wiggle. You know, so meaning the string and the body are working together.
Yep,
you know,
resonating and all. Yeah. That has become a staple for pretty much any guitar I try. I get guitar. Cool. The first thing I do. Yeah.
Yeah. First thing you do is ask your wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I bought a Flying V and, I found this amazing Flying V. Just sounded so good. It's like not really vintage, 92 or something like that. And I go, I know what? I'm going to the flower shop. First thing, hit the flower shop, right? Now this guitar here.
This one?
Yeah, this one I just used for a solo on my new album. And people for years have been saying, man, your solo on this song called Slang Justice, best Strat sound I've ever heard. And I have to tell them.
That's a great Strat right there.
It was this, yeah. This is a 54 Les Paul. Ooh. And it's just, you know, the P90s, it just sounds so good, especially that pickup. It's kind of a secret weapon. You know, when you have a wraparound bridge, they're not going to really tune up the best, but this guitar is so cool. And I actually, I did a really cool thing. When I joined Supertramp, in 85, they go, we've got this warehouse of gear. You might want to see if there's any guitar stuff you want. So I went down there and they had 2 Mesa Boogie heads. And I'm not a big Mesa Boogie fan. I mean, some people get a great tone out of them. I kind of find them, they get a little grindy on me, you know. They're not my favorite amp, but I just took them. Hey, why not? You're giving me Mesa Boogie heads, I'll take them. So I listened to them at home, and I liked one a lot better than the other. And there used to be a store in Sherman Oaks or something called Guitar. So I take the one I don't want down there, and I go, hey, look, I don't really need this thing. I'd like to trade it for something. He goes, yeah, look around. So I found this Les Paul from 54, and this is kind of before vintage guitars really became a thing. Straight across. For a Mark II Boogie, you know, and those are
not a bad deal.
Yeah. I mean, because there was a while where you're insuring these things for 30 to 50 grand, you know, so, the Mesa Boogie will never be that big of a deal, but it was a perfect trade because I've used this for years, but,
and that's a great Strat neck pickup sound, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very beefy. Yeah. I've got some LSLs with neck pickups that are P90s in there.
Oh, nice.
They're cool, but they're tellies. Yeah. So. Anyway.
All right. We got 2 more cases right there that you got out of the way.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick look. Turns out that the studio part of the interview is carrying out to be a little bit longer than anticipated, and that's not a bad thing at all.
So this guitar is a 1966 Gibson, you got one back there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gibson 335. And I played it the other night.
That's my wife's favorite guitar.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, Telly's at 35s, right, honey? Yeah.
Yeah, this girl is, I bought this in the 70s and it, in 1966. It really sounds good. I was playing it the other night because normally with my band, I play an SG. And I love the SG. It's really great. But I pulled this one out and I go, maybe I'll do something different.
This is the one you played at the Baked Potato.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's when we got to connect.
Yeah. So this was cool. And it's a nice old guitar, man. Look at this case. It's got a
few miles on it.
Yeah. The case is actually, fake alligator skin. I don't know.
Well, the guitar is real, so we don't mind the fake alligator skin.
Yeah, so it's definitely been with me for years, That's what's cool, that the longer you've been doing it, if it sounds good, don't sell it.
Yeah, make it stay, right?
Yeah, it'll stick around and be your friend for many years. I got to show you a guitar, though, that I'm really, I just got recently. And, when you get like, so I don't know, I would say in the 80s, I had this cartage guy and, he said, he's coming over to pick up my gear at a different, or setting me up or something at a studio. And he goes, "Hey, you want to buy an electric 12 string?" And I go, "Not really. My wife has," I said, I've got one already. And he goes, "Oh, my wife's got this 12 string. I think it's called a Reichenbacher," right? I go, "Rickenbacker?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, what year is it?" And he goes, "Well, her mother bought it new in 1966.
Okay.
I go, "Okay, I'll take it." So he offered me a price and I just doubled it because I said, "Buddy,
it's worth a lot more than
yes." So I bought that and I've used it for many, many years, Then I've always wanted a 6-string Rickenbacker. So I found a 66 6-string Rickenbacker. Want to see it?
Sure.
It's really cool. So these are called toasters, right? And there's nothing that sounds like these kind of pickups. They're just really, and the whole thing is just all about chime. It's just so, it just chimes away, and the thing about Rickenbackers is if you put the pickup selector in the middle, then you can blend with this little knob here between the two and you find this sweet spot, With Gibsons, you have to do this, and that's cool. But with this, it's so simple. You just put it in the middle and just find the spot.
And this works only in the middle position?
Yeah.
Okay.
It blends it blends more of this, less of this, or the other way around. So anyway, this guy is so perfect too.
It looks brand new.
Yeah. So anyway, in 1966. So I'm really happy with this thing because I've always wanted one. So when I found one, I just went, "Oh my God, this is going to be cool." Now, it's not a guitar you take to a gig and play. It's more a studio kind of a thing. I did take it on tour. We have a new tune called "Hippie Wedding," and it kind of a folk song thing. So I was playing this, just it sounded really good on with my rig.
And loud and plugged.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, Rickenbacker, they're wacky guitars. They're goofy.
But sometimes the wacky guitars are the ones that get the unusual tones.
I was doing a record with the producer Jack Douglas, and he did Double Fantasy with John Lennon, Toys in the Attic with Aerosmith and all these things. And he said, "You have any Gretches?" And I said, "No, never found one that I liked."
And here's one.
Got one?
Yep.
Cool. You get yours, I'll get mine. So he said, if you find one, get it because they're quirky and they sound really good, in a track. So they sound
like a Chester.
Yeah. So I found a Chester. Yeah. This guy is pretty cool, man. The tones it gets with these goofy pickups are really cool. Kind of a funny guitar to play. It's got that zero fret thing, It's pretty much in tune. So, but I dig it. I can play all that. I found it. Anyway, it's got the Bigsby, which is really a musical tremolo.
Oh, yeah.
Bigsby's are great. So anyway, yeah, I love this.
I mean, what's not to love? It's orange.
Yeah.
It's a Chester.
The other good thing is this guitar, I picked it up for like, under $3,000, somewhere in that range. And then Brian Setzer came on the scene with his big selling big band album.
Yep.
And he was interviewed and says, it has to be the 58. No, sorry, the 59. Because the 58's braced wrong and the 60's got the wrong pickups or something like that. Maybe it was the 60's, 58's got the wrong pickups, the 60's braced wrong. Only the 59 rocks. So I go, gee, I wonder what I bought, because I was listening and looking and I go, score!
59.
Yeah, I got the right year, and they immediately, tripled in price because of the, his endorsement. He's the number one guy doing it now that Chet's gone.
That's almost what happens every time you come out with a new pedal or you show us something different on your pedal board. Prices change.
Prices change, yeah. So cool.
There we go.
Now there's SG, Flying V. There's all kinds of other stuff, but I mean, I'm sure you've seen all those.
Yeah, we've seen a bunch. Anything in the back you'd like to show? Because there's your rack of guitars that you move around more often. You mentioned
in the garage area?
Yeah. You mentioned the Music Man, the baritone.
Yeah, there's 2 baritones. There's a Supro dual tone. Yeah, let's go out there.
Okay, so time to move to the garage.
Yeah. I can see why my cartage guy quit. He just aged out, right? So thankfully I got a new guy. Here's the sort of effects rack that I use to play on soundtrack movies, and I use it on my own records if I need to get what they call ethereal man.
Okay.
So you can take a little look at that if you want.
Ooh, I see Lexicon, Reverb, the THD, Agnator preamp.
Yeah, Agnator, yeah. That's right. Forgot about that. But like I said, I haven't used it. It really sounds good, though.
Yeah, it looks right.
Yeah. It's all, so the Bradshaw stuff from the old days morphed into this just because, you can get a fractal to do, the ethereal sounds, right?
Yeah.
You can get that. But if you kind of handcraft them yourself with a bunch of reverbs and stuff like that.
Is that much more rewarding?
Yeah. Here's something real special. This is a Fender Vibratone cabinet.
Ooh.
So this is what you hear Stevie Ray Vaughan playing on
the Leslie like?
Yeah, the Leslie kind of thing. Fender Vibratone.
Ooh, the real deal.
I love this thing. It's just nothing sounds like it.
You said you love this thing? I don't trust people who don't, honestly.
I know.
It's too short.
This thing, it really throws nothing comes out at the front. It comes out here, and over there. It comes out the sides.
So stereo miking is a breeze. You don't have to worry about phasing.
Just 2 stereo mics, and it throws the sound around. Great. Then there's 2 4x12 cabinets that I use. 1, 2, the other one's over there. And then here's a vintage one from 1968.
So basket weave.
Yeah. And then this is my mini pedal board, which is really cool for all kinds of purposes.
Oh, it's really mini.
Yeah, 10 by 10. It's a cutie.
Nice.
That sometimes changes out to being a reverb.
I love this pedal.
Yeah, it's good.
It has a good delay.
Yeah. Anyway, so this guy, it gets a lot of use, rehearsals, all kinds of things.
So that's when you're not taking your 3-way amp setup.
Right. Then the pedal board that works with that works with the rack there, and the pedal board that works when I play with Stuart Copeland is this one. Let's see. So it's not A/B or anything. It's got 2 delays. This one you can tap in and you can set times, and then it's got 3 distortion pedals, 1, 2, 3. And then it's got a mono chorus. Yeah, which is really a good sounding chorus. And a volume pedal. I need a volume pedal on this one. So
yeah, that's
this
compact.
this one's cool. I use it with that big rack too sometimes, and so
nice.
Okay, so you got that one. I don't know what to do with the Supertramp one because the Supertramp one won't be happening again, you know. But this is what I used for many years with those guys. The blue button, the blue thing right there is an ABC.
That's the one that got your mod, right?
No, the one that got my mod is the one that you'll see at my live gigs. The one with that has a Zen drive and a Klon and all that. But these pedals over here go straight to the clean out, and then these two pedals go to the crunch channel, and then the third is these three pedals do the solos.
Mm-hmm. So ABC, literally A clean, B crunch, C lead.
Yeah. Because in that band, you double a lot of bass notes and stuff, and you don't want your solo sound to have delay on it and everything like that, you know, for that. So, yeah. I don't know. I think I have to break this bad boy up and sell it, or, you know, I don't know. Maybe there's somebody who would want the whole thing as is, because it really sounds great.
Oh, I bet there is somebody who would take that off your hands.
You know? Somebody that wants to drag around a 3-amp system.
Yep.
So if we go over here, this is a trunk that gets sent to my sessions. I'll show you some cool stuff out of here. This is what I play slide guitar on. It's an old Supro dual tone.
Nice.
And big flat wound strings, and I keep my slides in this Air France bag. So anyway, but this guy, when they say dual tone, it's that pickup or that pickup.
It doesn't do both.
You can't do both. It's crazy. I suppose I could have it modded, but for slide, I just use this pickup. It just sounds amazing. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
that's
cool. It's
1956.
Guitar. Pretty old guitar. This is what I call the Manatee. This is the guitar that
that's the baritone?
Yeah, baritone that Alan gave me. It's made by a guy up in, I think he was living in, where was he? Monterey or something. Bill DeLapp. And he made Alan a whole bunch of guitars. Mm-hmm. So Bill DeLapp.
Headless baritone.
Yeah. Anyway, very cool sounding guitar. Just monstrous, you know, 2 humbuckers. And it can get really ugly with a fuzz, which I needed.
That's the idea, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the Manatee. And the reason is because I use it on this album called The Grand Design. And the engineer, he says, what's the name of this song that I was using on? I said, it's just called Intangibles Collide. That was the name of the song, Intangibles Collide.
Very poetic.
And he goes, and he thought I said manatees. So Manatees Collide became a joke, right? So. And let's see what else is in here. I got a John Suhr guitar in here. This is a guitar that I used constantly in the 80s. This was my shred guitar. And I played on lots of stuff with this, lots of movies and stuff. This is an old Norik Renson Strat that has a Floyd Rose. So
it looks the part.
Yeah, it's a stunt guitar, yeah. It got a lot of work and did the Floyd thing. So, and stay out. And somewhere in Switzerland, I found this pickle, this little thing with a pickle. I stuck it on there, and I have no idea what it says. It's a flying pickle on an egg.
A flying pickle on an egg?
Yeah, I don't know what it means. But this is a great little guitar. If I need to do, shred stuff or dive bomb stuff or anything like that.
This is the one.
This is the one, yeah. It's the Strat that I'll pull out for that stuff. Made by a local guy named Norik Renson, who's super cool. There was a guy in Europe that was making me a Strat every time I toured there. And
which is not a bad deal.
He was a good guy. And so but after a while, I had like 6 or 7 Strats that I was keeping over there. So I asked him to stop. And I gave him a bunch back, and he sold them and got good money. But I kept a couple, and one of them has a hardtail. In this case, you want to play country, and you don't want your wang bar in the way.
Yeah.
This isn't that, though. This is an old Dane Electro. And, I've been looking for this. Great. So, anyway, this old Dane Electro is, just one of those quirky guitars. It doesn't get a lot of work or anything, but when I need that lipstick tube sound, There's nothing else that does it.
Yeah.
So
it's great for layering, right? Because whenever you layer guitars, there's something about that quirkiness that just works on a track.
You know, you bring that up, and layering is one of my favorite things to do. But you really have to, you have to figure out a lot of stuff. Like, for instance, who's going to be Frank Sinatra? Who's going to be the guitar that's the main one, Here's another baritone that I have that is better for country music. This is a Music Man. And these are good for kind of the twang kind of berry.
Oh, yeah, the silhouettes.
Yeah.
Berries.
Everything's a little bit flat on the high strings. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of a cool guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Use it for, when you need to sound like Wichita Lineman or something.
Mm-hmm. Doing those lower parts.
Yeah. So, anyway, cool guitar. Like I said, these ones that live out here are less in use. The ones that are in there in the house are
the ones that get most mileage.
Yeah. Yeah. Some tellies in there and stuff like that. So, and I've got a bunch more vintage guitars too. I've got vintage tellies, and I've got a 70 Les Paul, 72, I guess it is. And so anyway, but yeah, these cases are good because if I have a session and it's for a week or a couple of days, I can take this and put it in there, and then at the end of the day, I can put my guitars away and lock it. So the cleaning crew isn't bumping into stuff, and that's just a good feeling.
And the idea that you can actually have the cases in there as opposed to having the guitars racked.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of accidents happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the other one holds a bunch of acoustics, which is nice for, but I generally bring both of these to a session or a record date or something that you're going to be hanging around for a few days. So
yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, gotta have it. I don't know when I retire, what do you do with these? But who's retiring?
No,
I mean, guitar players just don't unless they get arthritis or something. But
plus nowadays you can record from home, so sometimes you don't even need to leave the house to record anyway.
Yeah, in many ways these are just good for storage, because they're pretty thermal. Like when it gets hot in here, they don't get messed up. And as you can see, the ego bathroom has morphed out into the garage.
We're gonna do some B-roll shots of the ego bathroom and some of the storage that you have going on.
Yeah. So,
any other specialty things or minutia that you would like to share? Because honestly, I think we actually ended up covering more ground in a very short space of time than I anticipated.
Cool. Great.
So,
I mean, I got vintage Marshalls, 3 of those. I've got an old, high watt Tremolux Showman. I've got a Gibson Falcon amp, just random stuff. But I mean, you just don't need pictures of everything.
Yeah.
So
pretty much, yeah.
I got the Wang bar adjuster up there. That's where you put the bar in and you can pull it to exactly the height you want.
Oh, that thing up there?
Wang bar adjuster, yeah. That's important. That's a quirky item. Right.
It looks handmade.
Yeah. I think it looks, do not toss. It says.
Right by Elvis.
Anyway, right.
So this is actually your guitar tech area.
Yeah.
So you service your own guitars.
Well, I mean, I intonate for sure, and I the guitar I'm going to play on Sunday this week, I will change the strings on, and I've actually got 2 of these old Constrobe tubes, which is amazing. I got a second one right up there that I don't need. But I just ended up with it, somehow. And I have 2 Fender tube reverbs, like that.
The tank?
Yeah, there's one right here. And there's another one in my studio there, so. And these are
AC4s?
AC4s that Mercury Magnetics put new transformers in, and I got new 10-inch speakers from Celestion.
Okay.
Celestion Gold, so they sound really good.
Bet.
Yeah. I actually use those out here a lot when I'm using my my live effects rack. I'll just plug those in to dial in the delays and the chorus and whatever kind of wiggle effects I need.
So the Golds being pretty much high-powered versions of the Blues.
I think so, yeah.
So I think you're a guy that doesn't, or actually you favor not having a lot of speaker distortion?
Well, Yeah, I mean, golds just distort really nicely, though.
Uh-huh.
They're really good. I have a Dr. Z 210 cab that I use for all kinds of stuff.
That one right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that one. No, there's another one, a better one.
I love when I ask, oh, is that one? No, there's another one. So there's always something else.
Yeah, this one isn't it. It's this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, this cabinet is like one of my best sounding ones, right? And
That one's got blues or golds?
it's got golds, yeah. I'm a big fan of the golds, yeah. This one, I think, just has Dr. Z speakers in it, and they're not quite as cool, I don't
You can
think.
see in the back here.
Yeah, what do they look like?
Yeah, they're Z speakers.
Yeah, and then here's an old, back here, this is an old Bandmaster head, cabinet that I put EVs into.
Uh-huh.
Very tweaky.
Yep.
But this thing sounds great.
And it weighs a ton.
It weighs so much.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I had a cabinet with EVs in the past. They were, I didn't anticipate them being so heavy.
yeah. One day I want to take this and my dual Showman head and this and just have an all Fender, so it wouldn't be with my band, it'd be for something. And I use the switch to switch between the Leslie and the
regular cabinet.
regular. Yeah. It'd be really kind of a fun thing. I did it one time for a jazz gig and it was really cool. So.
Yeah.
Everybody's going, where's that organ coming from? So
When somebody's asking about the organ they can't see, that's when you know you're doing your job, both tonally and with the voicings.
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, you got a partial look at what's going on around here.
Yeah, and if we stay here, we'll probably stay here all day because there's a lot more to show. So let's wrap it up. I'd like to start by thank you again
Boom.
for having us at your house.
Sure.
Me and my wife, the wife behind the camera, say hi, honey.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, honey.
So if you like what you saw, honestly, if you didn't, just get off of YouTube. Just go do something else. But if you like what you saw here, make sure to hit that like button, to subscribe. Of course, tell me in the comment section, you know, the YouTube drill. Tell me what you thought, your thoughts about this whole, arsenal of gear that's been put to very, very good use throughout the decades. And of course, don't forget to follow Carl on all social media. Where's the best place to find you? Not only to find information about you, but also about your lessons, how to get your albums. I know you sell Kemper tone packs as well, where you've profiled your stuff. Yeah. So where's the best place to find you?
I think the carlverheyen.com, but I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Carl Verheyen Official on Facebook, and just Carl Verheyen on Instagram. And I'm always posting stuff all the time, just keeping it alive. You know? So, I mean, this is, like I said, all the live gear is not here right now. So it usually kind of comes out to here, but, you got to remember, this is basically, a lifetime of collecting stuff.
Absolutely.
And if it sounds good, you don't sell it.
Yeah, just keep it.
I've regretted selling a few wonderful amplifiers in the past where I go, what was I thinking? What I was thinking was this does the same thing. Well, it really never does.
Yeah.
So if it sounds good, don't sell it.
Yeah.
It'll be useful someday.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen here. And until next time, remember, music is for everybody.
That's right.